And a quick recap of what we did in the last lesson. What we did was, when I get the right one open, we created a cave using metaballs and we converted it to a mesh. We flattened the bottom part of it to form a floor, and we applied a basic material to it. And then we also added one light source, which is in the middle of the cave here, this first cavern, and we baked the lighting. We also created a second UV channel for the light maps in Blender rather than using Unity's own generate light map UVs tick box, because it's rubbish and it's way better to do your own, much more efficient. So this was as far as we got last week, and I'm hoping, if I don't waste any time, we'll be able to get it kind of finished and maybe uploaded at the end of it all, and we'll go and have a little walk around. So it'll be the first very basic space that we've made together. So the first thing I need to do is get the scale correct, because at the moment I know for a fact this is way too small. If I was to bring in just a basic, let's just say we'll make it a cylinder, and we'll just set it to the center and zoom in on it. So this is where the cylinder currently is. The cylinder is 1 meter tall, so we have got an absolutely tiny cave. That's no good. It's not what we want. So what we're going to do is go back into Blender. I have the project open here. Normally what I used to do is just bring in a cube and make it, you know, however tall an avatar is. I usually make it about 1.85. I don't know how tall they are in here, but that tends to work, and then maybe 1/2 meter wide. But after watching one of Aline's rather useful sessions, a 3D waffle, she just brings in an armature, which is so quick and easy from a Ready Player Me tool. So we can just do that, bring in an armature, and then we can just rescale this to suit. Now obviously we want to have a look and see which are the lowest parts. Probably I would guess maybe this section here of this tunnel. We need the character at least to be able to go through there, even if they're crouched. So we'll just scale this up. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just turn on X-ray there. Does that help? No, it doesn't. Come on, let's just turn that off. We'll maybe just make that always visible when I find the right thing in front. There we go. So let's just scale around a little bit more. We'll just move him somewhere, everything except the Z. That'll do. That's about where we want him. And we'll just scale the cave up a bit. We're still guessing a little bit at this point, but I would guess at this point we're probably okay to get our character through. So if not, you can always scale it up a bit more if you're unsure, but yeah, that's about the size we want. I'll just delete the armature, and we'll apply the scale, and then using our nifty little machine tools exporter thing, we're just going to export it again exactly as we did last week, and it'll overwrite the one that we have currently. And now it's huge, so we've got to go all the way over here because the whole thing is expanded in size. That should be correct. Let me just bring in a quick cylinder again. just stick that in the centre and see what it's like. Seems kind of okay to me. Hopefully you can crouch enough to get under these short bits. So we've got it rescaled. Next thing we would need to do is do something else for the ground. If you see this one that I did previously, where is it? This one, lordy, this one here. We've actually got two textures. We've got this rocky one on the walls and we've got this mossy one on the ground. But what I've done is I've blended them together so that it's a nice gentle transition from one to the other. And I've got this right the way throughout the cave because I just think it looks cool. It looks more realistic than applying a totally different texture to the floor and then having a really hard seam where one changes to the other. And we do that by writing a shader again in Amplify, and they use one of these things. This is called a lerp node. Lerp stands for linear interpolation, and basically what it does is you plug in one image, you plug in another image, and then you need an alpha or some way of telling it where you want one texture and where you want the other. For this one I've actually used the world position on the Y axis. The Y is the one that goes up and down. So we've told it we're looking up and down. We've got a gradient going from bottom to top, and we've just adjusted the scale and the offset until we've got it exactly where we want it, where the transition's going to take place. And it is a long time since I wrote this shader, so I might have to refer to this, but we're going to try and recreate it in Unity now for the new cave. So the first thing we need to do is to find a material for the floor, and as usual I'm going to go to, have I used packed textures? I probably have for this one, haven't I? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. So I'll probably go to Polyhaven, I think. And then it'll save me having to pack it. We'll just find one that's already packed. So let's have a look for maybe moss. See if it comes up with much. That one's quite interesting. This one's quite interesting, kind of muddy with some leafy things. Maybe not right for a cave, but that's just me being too finicky. But yeah, there's plenty to choose from. Any others that I like the look of? Not really. You know what? Let's go with this leafy one that I saw originally. Although that one might blend in better with the walls. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I think that one might just blend in better. So we'll have a quick look and see what we want. Ambience, roughness, ambient occlusion, roughness, metallic, diffuse and normal. That'll do nicely, thank you very much. And 2K will do. So we'll just open that up and unzip, and we'll just drag that into here. And wait, what was it called? Aerial grass textures. Right, so this is the packed one. We want to tell it it's not a colour image, even though it looks like it. It's just a load of grayscale maps in each of the RGB channels. So we'll tell it that it's not sRGB. and this one we need to tell it that it's a normal map. So that's that set up. We can always try it out by creating a quick, let's just create a quick material. Oh, we can't because it's a packed texture. Lisa, you Egypt, right? We're going to use, have I got me arm shader? Yes, I have. So we'll just use that. And we're going to plug in the packed one, and the albedo, and the normal. And we'll just stick it on there and see what it looks like. And we need to adjust the tiling till it looks reasonable without there being an obvious pattern repeat. And yeah, I kinda, let's just turn off the grid. Kinda looks okay. I think that might blend in quite nicely. So if you're happy enough with that, we can then start to build our shader. So I'm going to, I don't know what to call it, you know, we'll just call it anything for now. We can always rename it. Let's just call it Cave Blend, because we're not likely to use this for anything else. And we'll just stick Lisa in there so that when we come to select it from here, it's under the menu Lisa Cave Blend. There we go. Okie dokie, it's gone black because we haven't done anything with the shader yet. The light maps are still baked and they will become visible again once the shader's starting to come together. So this is where I need to refer to my previous one. So what I've actually done, I've got the floor colour and the floor normal. Actually, I haven't used a packed one in here, you know, so we're not going to use it. Got the floor colour and the floor normal, which is making up, obviously. It doesn't look like it is there, but if we change the material, you should see. Why don't you see a difference? How bizarre. Let's open that again. Oh, you know why, because I didn't open the material. Here we go. Man, I am such a numpty at times. So now you can see we've got two different ones. We've got the moss diffuse and the normal, and the wall diffuse and the normal. They are going into separate lerp nodes because we want to lerp the colours together, which is why that one goes into there. That one goes into there and that one goes into there. And then the alpha that we're using, if you follow that back, is a generated one we've done using the world position. So we're going to give that a try. We need to bring in these 4 textures first of all. So again, like we said last time, you hold T and just click on the screen and you get your texture sample nodes. We're going to rename them. So we're going to call this floor colour. And please no comments about me spelling it wrong, I'm English. And this one, wall colour. We name this one floor normal. And this one wall normal. And then if we were to just plug these in, floor colour, floor normal, and save it. Goodness gracious me, yeah, hang on. Let's get them plugged in. So we want the colour. So there's basically that, just with the colour and the normal. If we plug in the wall colour and the wall normal, which are going to be different, I'm just going to padlock that in place and get me rock wall textures. So at least we know they're working. The tiling's all wrong, but at least we know they're working. So, come on. So then we need to set up the rest of it. Now, we need to, in order for this lerp to work, we need an alpha. So we're going to set up the lerp nodes first of all, and that's easy. We just press L and L again. We want one for the colours and one for the normals. So we'll disconnect these to avoid confusion. So we'll put one in there and one in there, one in there and one in there. So the two normals go into one lerp node and the two colours go into one lerp node. And we'll just double check that we've got that right. I have absolutely no idea why I've got that plugged into ambient occlusion. Ah, there we go. I can see exactly why. What I've done is I've actually baked the ambient occlusion grayscale map into the alpha channel of the colour images. I don't even remember doing that. So we won't worry about that at the moment. What we need to concentrate is just the colours and the normals, these two. We'll stick that one up there out the way because that's really not important. So we need to make sure these lerp nodes are plugged into the right ones. So the colours go into this one, so that plugs into albedo, and the normals go into this one, so that plugs into normal. And if we save that and just see what happens, nothing. And the reason is we haven't got an alpha specified. If you imagine an alpha is kind of like, if you imagine it as a black and white map, it can be used for transparency, where one colour will be opaque and another colour will be transparent, or it can be used as a mask, for instance, if you want to specify which parts of a surface are going to be metallic and which parts aren't. But it can also be used as a mask exactly like this, where you specify which parts are going to be one colour and which parts are going to be another. And because the easiest way to do it, well, in my opinion, the easiest way to do it is just to use world coordinates and take the y-axis value and then just scale and offset it until it looks right. And you'll see what these do in a moment. We've also got a saturate node, which I had to actually ask Aline about this the other day. I used it when I made this shader ages ago, and I have no idea what it did. It just made it work. But now I understand that it's kind of like a clamp node. It clamps it to a maximum value of 1 and a minimum value of 0. So we're going to start with adding the world position node. And to do that, we just right click and start searching for world position, and we're going to use this Y value, and the Y value goes to scale and offset and saturate, but we'll miss the saturate out for now so you can see what it actually is like without it. Scale and offset, there we go, and we're just going to plug that directly into the alphas of both of these lerps. And we'll save it and see what happens. Now it just looks weird, it's gone all bluey. We're going to add that saturate node, yeah. We'll plug it into there, and then we'll plug this into both of the alphas. See, this is what happens, you know, I was saying I had to ask Aline what it actually meant. This is what happens when you have no idea what you're doing. You just throw nodes in to see what happens and you think, that looks okay, I'm leaving it as it is, but I've no idea how it worked. Anyway, you can see here it's kind of working. We've got it blending a bit, but it's still a little bit of a harsh line. I would like to be a bit softer than that. And what would be nice if we could also have some of this rock kind of showing through the mossy floor a bit as well. And so this is where we add the scale and offset. And here I've literally added scale and offset, and these are just float values that I've added. I've just renamed them, but they get plugged into the correct things here. We know we need a float, which is just a single digit, because all it's asking for is a single digit in here. So we just press 1 for one digit, create two floats. One of them I'm going to call scale, one of them I'm going to call offset. And normally what I do to start with is I give them a default value of whatever it says in here to begin with. So scale, we'll give it a default value of 1, offset will leave as 0, and we want to make them both properties so that we can adjust them in the material. And now what we should be able to do, we've got scale and offset, is we can alter these. So that one moves it up and down. I like to have it, you know, high enough for it to give it space to blend out well. And then the offset is this one here, and you can see when I turn it up, the moss kind of fades away and we get the rock. So we have it just enough so we can see a bit of the rock through it, but it's still got a mossy feel. Maybe that's a little bit too low. We'll try a little bit more moss. And by the time you get up to it, we can even increase this a little bit. It's just a case of playing around with it until you're happy enough with the way it looks. But I quite like that. We've got the moss creeping up the wall a bit. It's different enough to actually look like it's still a rock floor, but there's just a bit of crud and grunge on the floor, which I think is quite nice. So that's working well. The next thing I would normally do is control the tiling. And in here we should have tiling. I've also added normal strength. You may not need that, but I think in the texture that I used for my original test space, when I can get the thing open, my original test space, the normal was way too strong. I mean, that's turned right down and it's baked and it still looks quite strong, I think, in my opinion. So that's the only reason I added a slider to adjust the normal strength, but most of the time you probably won't need to unless you're really, really finicky and would notice the tiniest little differences. So all I'm really going to do in that case is to add tiling, and for that we need something to plug it into that has a tiling node, which is texture coordinates, and then that goes straight into whatever it is you're wanting to tile. I've set this up twice because I've got different values. If I was going to have the tiling exactly the same on both textures, I would have just used one node and plugged it into all of these, but I need different values. So I'm going to add texture coordinates, which I could have done just by hitting the U key. And we'll plug one in there, and one in there, one in there and one in there, and we'll add a float for each of them. Plug those into tiling, and they always start at 1 and that should be roughly it. If I close that, we can then adjust. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I've done this again. Did this last time. I didn't make these. Oh, that is a property. That's not a property though. Let's try save that. Have I got 2 tilings now? Float 0 and a float 1. Lisa, you complete and utter. We're going to call this floor tiling, and we're going to call this one wall tiling. So now at least I know what I'm adjusting. There we go. So floor tiling, we'll just increase that till we think it looks reasonable. It looks like, at first you kind of think, oh, it's not tiling the normal, but it is. What's not tiling is the wall texture, which of course we set it up so that you could see a bit of the floor through it. But just increase that until you think it looks reasonable, and the wall tiling until you like the look of it. And I think that looks quite nice. So I know that's probably a little bit complicated, but I think it's a good introduction to at least show you the power of writing your own shaders. You can literally do, well, the world's your oyster. Once you've learned how, you can do what you like. You can achieve some really, really cool effects. And this, in my opinion, this is quite a simple shader. You've just stuck a few textures in and blended them together and added a little bit of jiggery pokery at the start of each one, and that's it. So we've got that set up. Let's see. I think the next thing what I wanted to do was to start adding stuff to the cave. I think what I'll do first though is we'll stick a few more lights in, because we've got a whole cave system that we're not exploring, and we can put stuff around, which I think is quite cool. So we'll just duplicate this point light wherever it is. Let's just goodness gracious, have I moved stuff around? Yes, I have. You see me point lights there. That's because I scaled the whole cave, and then the point light was in the wrong place. We're going to be rebaking it again anyway, so we'll stick that one in there. In fact, what I'll do is I will just clear that lighting for now. We'll duplicate another point light and stick it in there, and we could even duplicate it another couple of times and just light up these tunnels a bit. We'll probably want to reduce the intensity of these because the tunnels are a lot narrower, but for now we'll just leave it like that. Okay. And we actually baked it last week with Unity's built-in light mapper, didn't we? And I'm reminded of that because we haven't got any bakery scripts attached to this. So we'll continue. No, we're not. I'm going to continue with bakery for now. And the reason is the more lights we add to it, the longer it's going to take to bake. The more calculations Unity has to do, and its own light mapping system is so slow. We're going to be sitting here for half the session just waiting for it. So we'll convert over to bakery now. And to do that, what we want to do is add a bakery point light script. Just match the script to the light colour, the light material, and we'll do the same for the others. Before I started, I should have done that before I started duplicating it, because I've now got to do it with every one. What we'll probably do is just select the last 3 and do the same thing. And that should have added a script to each of them. Yes, it has. Okay, the cave is already marked as static, ready for baking the lighting, so we shall go ahead and do that. I'll change that to dominant direction. It's now, excuse me, it's now going to just quickly bake that. Hope it's going to be quick. Yeah, good old bakery, fast as lightning. And that's it baked. So now have a little wander through the tunnels, all looking good. Nice, like it a lot. So I'm going to start creating something to put in these tunnels. I think it would be nice if we created a few rocks that we can scatter around the place. So we'll go to Blender, and I'm just going to hide the caves for now, and we'll add in, let's see, have I already got it enabled? Yes, I have. I wonder, I'm not sure if this is in Mesh Extra Objects. Let's have a look. We'll soon find out. Add. Yeah, now my rock generator's gone. So you do need to add this. It's built into Blender, so it doesn't cost anything. It's there already. All you've got to do is go into your preferences and search for Add Mesh Extra Objects, or as I've done, just search for Extra. It'll come up and you tick that, and then you literally just go into Add Mesh down here, and you've got a rock generator, which is quite handy. We'll zoom in on that a bit, and here now, of course, this is, I don't think I can move me menu. This is covering it up a bit, me keys, but you've got these different things you can play with, the number of rocks, the scale. Well, I just usually scale it once it's generated, but you can also change a few things here. Usually all I do is I choose one of the presets, and you've got different ones you can choose. So this one is called Fake Ocean. It's meant to look like a choppy sea. Let's just turn on cavity so you can see it a little bit better. Meant to look like a choppy sea anyway. You've got ice, kind of looks like, yeah, I guess it looks kind of like ice. Sandstone, it's got that nice strata kind of effect. Asteroid. You've got all these different presets. I usually choose river rock because river rocks are usually smooth. They've been worn away by the water for thousands, millions of years, and they generally look good. I don't like the shape of that one, however. So I wonder if there is a random, it says use random seed. If I untick it, can I choose my seed? Yes, I can. So you can just change the value until you kind of like a shape. Find a shape you like, rather. So I quite like that shape there. If we have a look here, it's going to have a load of modifiers. And what we need to do is check that it's going to be low poly. It's not face orientation, honestly. Wireframe. You know what it is? I think I'm still feeling the effects of that whiskey last night. So, anyway. Subsurf, not sure. We've got 2 subsurfs and a displace, and I mean, obviously this is the way it's making the rock up. So rather than trying to work out what they each do, I would just apply everything to start with. That's way too much. So we'll just go to decimate, choose unsubdivide, and click it a couple of times until you're happy with it. I mean, that's pretty naff because we've got a warped face. So maybe what I should have done is, rather than applying everything, just maybe took off one of these subsurf modifiers. and maybe apply it and see what that's like. That'll have to do for now. I'd usually use a lot less polys than that, but because I don't want to be spending the time fixing warped faces, I'm just going to leave it the way it is for now. So we're just going to turn off wireframe. And we've got a little bit of weirdness going on here. So does it have shade smooth? Yes, it does. Auto smooth. So I'm just going to try increasing the angle a bit until it picks up that sharp edge. And that'll do for now. So we've got a rock. Now what we need to do is make sure this rock is properly unwrapped. It's already got seams by the looks of things. So I wonder if, come on, I wonder if I just unwrap that. Nope, it's giving me a load of squares, which isn't really what I want, I don't think. I mean, it might work. It is made up of, I guess it would in a way. Shall we just give it a try? I'm creating the second UV channel for the light maps, which we're just going to make possibly a straight copy of this. I don't know, it depends if all these squares are joined. No, they're not. They're not at all. So we're going to get rid of that. Don't like the way it's been unwrapped. I wonder what these red edges are then. Oh, they're purple. Anybody know what purple means? I haven't got a clue. Is that crease? I've no idea. So what I'm going to do in that case is we'll probably just try, we could just try using the same edge. It is crease, right? I had a thought, because blue's sharp, isn't it? Red is seam. I can't remember what bevel is, but I had a feeling purple was crease. I'm just going to use Smart UV Unwrap because I can't be bothered to fiddle around with it. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to make any difference anyway. When I think about it, we probably don't even need to unwrap it, because for these rocks, I would like to use a triplanar shader, which is what I've done here. Not that one, but these rocks here, I've used a triplanar shader because it allows me to add something on the top. It's useful for like snowy scenes if you want snow settled on it, but I wanted rocks with moss settled on the top. And you can tell it's a triplanar shader because the rock moves with it. The rock texture is fixed in world space, so when the object moves, the texture moves as well. And the same with the moss if I move it from side to side, which is handy because it's a lot easier sometimes to texture complicated shapes. There doesn't seem to be any sensible logical place to put a seam for your texture, you can't get around it, and there's going to be a seam visible regardless. This is where triplanar shaders can come in very, very useful. Excuse me while I have a cup of tea, my voice is so dry today. So I've unwrapped it anyway for the hell of it, but we still need the second channel for the light map. So we've got a rock. We'll bring our cave back. We'll see what the scale's like. You know, it's kind of all right, I think. Depends on how big you like your rocks. So we'll leave it like that for now. Dead in the centre of the world. I'm happy where it is. So we'll just give it a name, and we're going to call this one Rock 1.
Spawn rock.
And export it. So now there is our rock. Looks black, but that's because we've got baked lighting, so we'll just clear that for now. There we can see the rock, and we can stick it anywhere you want. We'll put it, come on Lisa, we'll put it over here next to the entrance to the cave, and we'll bring it up a bit so we've got a bit more of it showing. And we can go in, we can spawn another rock if we want. So we're just going to hide everything, and we'll add another rock generator. Ooh, that's horrible. So we'll choose a different seed. Is that the one I had before? I don't think it is. No, it's not. But it's a bit too similar. Oh, that's an interesting one. Shall we have that? And we just need to increase this again to get rid of any sharp edges. Looks quite odd, doesn't it? So we'll call this one Rock 2. And we don't need many different shapes, because what we can do is we can reuse all of these rocks over and over again, and if we're careful where we place them, you'll never know that it's the same model that we're using. So we'll bring that one in. I don't think, however, I created the UV channel for the light map, did I? Oh lordy, that's a face map. It's not what I want. Do that again. UV maps. You see, I'm way ahead of myself. I haven't even done the whole thing with the modifiers. So we got rid of one of the subsurfs last time, didn't we? So let's give that a try and see what it's like. That'll do. Go to the UV channel. Add another one. Light map. And export it again. Oh! There we go. So we can bring that one up a little bit as well. And we'll maybe make a little cluster of rocks, so we'll make that one a bit smaller, so it's a bit more interesting. And we'll do one more, so we'll hide that. Add mesh rock generator, random seed. We've been up to number 6, 7. Let's try a few different ones. Excuse me. Yeah, I do beg your pardon. I think my asthma's playing up today. I'm wheezing. That one will do. Looks interesting. So take off one of the subsurfs. See what it's like. That'll do. It's much the same as the one before. Increase the angle to sort out those sharp edges. There we go. And we'll call it Rock 3. There's Rock 3. And we'll put this over here as well. Bring it up a bit. Maybe even lean that one over a little bit. And make it a bit smaller. It's a bit odd. Looks like it's almost floating, doesn't it? So we'll bring it down a bit. Now the reason it's going off at an angle, if you remember, is because I'm using object coordinates, object space. If we used global, we could bring it directly up and down. But because the object was straight up and we've tilted it, using the object coordinates, the axes change as well. And I'm happy for it to go in that way because it's getting a little bit closer to the other rocks. But now I'm going to change to global because I just want to slide it across the ground a bit. Just arrange them till you find something that's reasonably pleasing. I'm going to move this one as well. There we go. That'll do. Oh, that one is floating. Put that one in the ground a bit. There we go. So we've got our rocks. Now, this is where I've got to try and remember how I did this. So, we're going to create a new shader. And this time, I'm going to call it triplanar. For this, we do actually have a node that does it for us. And you can see here, it's currently set to mapping spherical, but it's not spherical. We're going to treat it as cylindrical because spherical means you can only plug in one texture and it covers the whole thing in the same texture. If we change it to cylindrical, if you think you've got two faces, top and bottom, and then you've got around the middle. So this is ideal for what we want for the rock. So we're going to use this one for the colour, and we're literally just going to plug it into there where it says triplanar sampler. I'm just going to call it colour, and we can duplicate that rather than searching for it again, and we'll use one for the normal, and we're going to call it triplanar normal. And what I did forget to do was stick my name in and the slash. And what we'll do first, before we go any further, is we'll create a material which we're going to call rocks, maybe. Yeah. And we'll just choose the shader we've literally just created called triplanar. Now you can see, oh, we've got all these different things for top, middle, bottom textures. We've got 6 of them because we've asked for it to input two of the nodes. Excuse me. Now, they're not currently named. Even though we've renamed the triplanar thing, it's the actual inputs that we need to name, because there are going to be 3 textures to plug in, potentially, per node. So there's not much point really renaming this. This is just to help me, really, when I'm building it and I don't get confused. So for this, now you'll notice here, these are purple. And if we type in texture sample node, we can, well, these are actually normally, oh, they are purple. Pink can go into purple, pink can go into pink, but in this case we've got orange, which means that it doesn't want a texture sample node, it wants a texture object plugged in. So we have to look for something different. Texture object, and then you can see that can be plugged directly into there. And this is where we need to rename these. So in this case, I'm only going to use 2. I'm going to use one for the rock and one for the moss. So we can name them that exactly, rock and moss. And we want the rock to be on the middle and the bottom, and only the top we want the moss to be on it. So we'll give that a try. It's always a good idea to keep trying out your materials as you're working. So we've got moss and rock. We're just going to plug those in. So we'll find the rock wall and we'll stick that into rock, and we'll find aerial grass and we'll stick that into moss. And then we'll try putting that on here. Now at the moment it's looking janky, and that's because there's nothing plugged into normal, but we've got it plugged in there, and it's going to be totally messing with the way the light's interacting with the surface of the rock. That's way better. So it is working, but you'll see that the moss is kind of coming all the way down, which is fine if that's what you want. I mean, I think it looks kind of cool and we'll probably leave it like that. But you might want to adjust exactly how far down the rock it's coming and how dense that moss is and stuff. And so this is where we've added a little bit of extra to the material here. You've got your triplanar samplers. I don't know what on earth that's there for. I'm not using it, but there you go. We've just got the colour in the normal. And basically, maybe I didn't. Did I not change? Yes, I did change it. Here it is. Here it is. We've used world position again, which you have to plug into here anyway. Well, to make it all work properly. And then coverage fall off, which again is just a float that I've created. I've just called it coverage fall off, and that gets plugged into the fall off here. And that is basically just how quickly is that moss going to fade out. If it fades out very slowly, so it's a soft transition, obviously it's got to do it over a larger area, which is why it's going so far down the rocks here. So I'm just going to move that up there and tidy this up a little bit. And we need our world position node, which we just stick in there to make it all work definitely properly. What have I got that there for? I don't know. We'll deal with the normals in a minute. And then we had a float, which needs to be a property. We're going to call it coverage fall off. The default value, yeah, well, I don't know, we'll just stick it at 1 to start with and see what happens. Plug it into fall off. We can have a little play with that and see what is going on. So you can see the higher we go, the more dense the moss on the top becomes, but the more quickly it fades out. And when we go really low, that's when we're getting to negative values, it just breaks and goes all wrong. So make sure it's in the positive. So what we can do with this fall off is we can tell it needs to have a minimum of 0, and I think we actually went up to 20 something there, didn't we? But then it starts breaking at the 30s, or even, yeah, the early 20s. I'm just going to say let's not make it go any higher than 20. And that way we've kind of clamped it. Yeah, it breaks at less than a negative, doesn't it? So maybe give it a minimum of 5 and see what that's like. There we go. So we're kind of within the safe zone. I quite like it at about midway, about there. And we can literally, yeah, we've already copied it over to all of these. So that's that set up, and you'll notice that because we've used a triplanar node to do it, again, you can move the rock around and the texture moves with it. That's very, very useful because it's another way of reusing objects and you're not noticing, because even though the mesh is identical, the material is identical, it looks the same shape, the texture is going to look totally different, and it will fool your brain into thinking it's a totally different thing. And so you don't really get that sense of repetition. So we could literally just, where's rock 1? We'll stick that down here as well. We'll just duplicate all of them and we'll scatter them about a little bit. We'll put one over here and we'll rotate it a bit so it looks a bit of a different shape. We'll put this one over here and rotate that a little bit that way, and we'll stick this one, might as well stick this one dead in the middle ish. So we've got an interesting looking cave with some rocks hanging around. We should have already, if I'm right, done light maps for them all. I don't want to have to export them all again. That one has, that one has, that one hasn't. Did I not even unwrap that one? Lordy. Right. Okay, so we'll unwrap it, create a second channel, light map, export it again, and that should be it. We want to mark all of these rocks as static, and we'll bake. And would you believe we've been on with this an hour and all I've done is covered a couple of shaders, so we still haven't got this uploaded, but I think we've got the hard work done here. Next week what we're going to do is we're going to scatter these same rocks, these 3 rocks, all over the place. We'll have some in the corridors and some in the caves. We'll add colliders, we'll bake the lighting, we'll do some occlusion culling, and we'll upload it. And that's a promise. We'll definitely get it uploaded and we'll walk around next week. No, what, sorry?
We're just gonna trip over them, like.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to add colliders to the rocks.
Right.
We could do, but it's going to make it difficult to get through the tunnels if we have to crouch. But
Well,
obviously
this is
we
a
need
race,
one
right?
for the cave, otherwise we'll just fall, won't we? So, so there it is baked anyway. We've got some shadows. It looks quite atmospheric. And I think, I'm sure you'll agree that these rocks look actually pretty awesome, I think. And we did them quite quickly. We've made 3 different rocks, and by the time they're scattered around, it's going to look brilliant because they'll all look different because of the shader. So, I'm going to end the stream there because we are dead on 7 PM UK time. So we've been going an hour. Thank you everybody for coming. I'll do the usual
Thank you.
you know, saying goodbyes just before I finish the stream, but feel free to hang around. And I hope this one, I realise this one might have been a little bit too advanced, but it's definitely worth dabbling in your own shaders if you're able to the sooner you get into it, the better, in my opinion. And we'll do something a little bit simpler and get this world finished next week.